Welcome to The Brad Taylor. We have a purpose and passion for business. I'm so excited to be with somebody that I have known for over 20 years. And his name is Herman, and his wife's name is Diane. And Herman got into the publishing industry probably 2 or 3 years after I entered the publishing industry. And I remember when Herman and I got together at a national conference. And Herman was still new in the business. And
very green, very green.
Do you remember that, Herman? And go ahead.
Brett, yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. I can remember our first conversation is we had talked about, the book and passion and sales. And I remember at the end of that conversation, what stood out to me is you said, you need to go buy the book. You need to go buy the business. And we did. We went and bought it. And the next time we saw you, we told you we bought it.
It was belief. Well, you went on a leap of faith also. But I remember one conversation we had where Kathy, we were sitting at one of the round tables in the convention room. And just so happened, I guess God meant us to sit next to each other because I didn't know you really prior other than, And Kathy, we started talking about rates and pricing. And I just remember Kathy talking to you about your rate sheet, your circulation sheet. And do you remember that?
Yes.
And it's amazing over the years how we've stayed in contact with each other. And even last year, I remember calling you and telling you, asking you who you would suggest I use as a speaker for one of the conferences I'm doing this year. And I asked you about a couple speakers, and then you said to me, why don't you use Rudy? And I said, oh gosh, I love Rudy. And we talked about the movie, and then we talked about how you and I had both seen him probably at that point 20 years ago.
Right.
And subsequently I went with Rudy, and I'm so excited for him to visit with us in October. So Herman, tell me a little bit about, when you were new in the industry, a couple things that stayed with you or resonated with you, a couple things that you realized that when we were trying to give you some advice early on. What were some of your thoughts on that? Was I too hard on you?
Not at all. I think Diane and I had heard about you and Kathy, about how successful you were early on and the move that you made across the country.
3,100 miles.
3,100 miles. And I just knew, Barry brought us both into the business.
Right.
And I just remember Diane and I seeking you and Kathy out. Wherever you were at, we tried to be at. It just was anything that we could listen to you say. Look, Brad and Kathy the bottom line is they've been a mentor for us to Diane and I for over 20 years. And I cannot thank you enough for that. We have bounced many questions off of you and back and forth, and just we appreciate the relationship, and we're in business today because of you and Kathy. We're great. Diane and I are fantastic at stealing other people's ideas and implementing them, and we have had many ideas from you and Kathy.
I remember in my book that's coming out in January, you wrote a little quote in there. And what was the one thing you said that when we would talk to you, what would you say?
The one thing that my wife and I learned very quickly was when Brad was talking, it was time to shut up and listen because your life was about to change for the best.
Were you there when we were asked to speak to, I don't know, 400 publishers at the time? I think it was in Atlanta or somewhere. And we were going to talk about something, and then we changed our mind, and we had just read Who Moved My Cheese. Were you there when we got on the stage?
Yes,
And
that was
and Kathy
Todd
and I.
Walker. Todd Walker brought that book to us.
Yeah, so we were on our way to Atlanta, I think it was, and at the airport, the book had just come out. It was called Who Moved My Cheese, and so we were going there to speak about another topic to all the publishers, but I read the book on the airplane, and I said to Kathy, I said, we have to talk about this book, and so our whole topic changed, and unbeknownst to everybody, when we got on the stage, we talked about this book we read on the way to Atlanta from Portland at the time, and that was an awesome book. So you were there then. That's great.
Yep. Yeah, I've got it upstairs.
Yeah.
It's just invaluable. It's really, you can't put a price on it, about relationships and helping each other, because we were so green in the business that we got overwhelmed pretty fast. I could go out and sell and be pretty successful, but then we had to come together and put the book together, and it just seemed like the more pages I sold, the more chaos we created for Diane. And you two helped us with that a lot also.
Well, the one thing that I've always preached to people, and the one thing that I think keeps me going, because people say to me, why do I still do what I do, or why do I still have passion? I think I get more out of helping someone else, whether I have a vested interest in them or not. In the case of you and Diane, I had no vested interest in your business. Right. It was just about giving back and helping others succeed. And, over the years, I feel that, you're one couple that we've always had a friendship with that is priceless, because you can't put a price on friendships, and you can't put a price on loyalty, and you can't put a price on helping people succeed, because, that at the end of the day is what success is all about. And I'm sure over the years you've done the same.
Sure.
And that's what makes you who you are. It's your personality, it's your sincerity, it's your, vision. But more importantly, that's why people will gravitate you. I'll never forget when I first got in the business, 25 years ago, there was a publisher at the time at a meeting like you and I got together in, and they had a very, very successful magazine, and I just wanted to be like them. But for 2 years or 3 years, I was so intimidated by that person because they had such a huge magazine that I would bring that magazine home. I would keep it in my office and say, one day I want to be like that person, but I never talked to that person. And that person was on the East Coast. I'm not going to mention who it was, but I give you a lot of credit because you got out of your comfort zone, and it was something that I didn't do initially. You got out of your comfort zone and you sought Kathy and I out, where I knew of that person, but I was afraid to talk to that person for several years. And I think it wasn't until we got the distributor of the year or something, publisher of the year, that we then met that person, introduced ourselves to that person. But until then, it was very intimidating. And it can be intimidating when you're trying to talk to somebody that's very successful. But, Herman, I just am blessed that you and I got together, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for me as well as whatever I can do for you. And really the reason for this is just to let people know that, you know, it's always not about you. It's about helping other people succeed, regardless if it's in your own industry or other industries. I mean, we have people come to our office that have nothing to do with our industry or business, yet we're constantly giving them advice, you know, mentoring them.
I gotta tell you another quote that I actually wrote for you in your book. I can remember the four of us, and I think I know it was one of your kids. It might have been your daughter that was in a stroller. We were in Chick-fil-A in Atlanta. It was the annual convention, and we got away for a while, and we went to the mall, and we sat in Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you remember this or not, but Diane and I we were just kind of like sponges whenever we had time with you. We really appreciated it. But one of the things that I remember you telling me was, you said, Herman, don't reinvent the wheel. Just take one or two items back with you and implement them. And that's exactly what we've done over the years. Each regional that we go to, each national meeting that we go to, we try to, you know, there's so many great people across the country. And we took ideas from you and Kathy, and we would take ideas from other IDs across the country and just try to implement them. And I just can't appreciate, you know, I can't tell you how much you guys mean to us. I wish we were a lot closer.
Well, you're where you're in. Tell everyone where you're from. You're in Lake Ozark.
Yeah, we're in mid-Missouri.
Yeah.
We live at Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. At one time, it was the biggest man-made lake in the United States. We're halfway between Kansas City and St. Louis, but then we're an hour south of Interstate 70 from Columbia. That's where Diane and I are both from.
Right. Well, Herman, I really appreciate this time, and love you guys, and to your continued success. And I look forward to continuing to collaborate. And thank you so much.
I appreciate it. The thank you is to you all, and best wishes. I'm really excited about your book coming out in January. I can't wait to read it. I've already ordered it. I've already bought it on Amazon. So hopefully I'll get it soon.
Thanks,
Take care, and we love you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.